Hi everyone, and welcome to English 102 for the fall of 2020. I'm your professor this semester, Manuel Manny Martinez, and you will mostly interact with me through this little box here next to a document. That's a lot of what I'll be doing over the course of the semester is talking to you about documents here from this little box. I wish I could make it bigger, but we're kind of stuck with that. I guess sometimes I might be full screen, but usually I'll be small. One thing you might notice, even small screen, some of you might have seen that I wear two glasses here. I do need to have two glasses on in order to be able to see my computer screen. I just want to mention that because I know some of you will have questions about it and say, what is he doing with those two glasses on? But it just helps me see my computer screen. So what we want to do for this video is I want to go over the syllabus for the class. So I want you to understand how I've structured the class, what it is I'm expecting you to do. And as we go through this, there will be places where the video will pause and you will need to respond to a quiz question. Okay, and we're going to be doing that throughout this semester. I'll have these videos, they'll pause, a question will come up, and it's just to make sure that you are engaged with specifically what it is that I'm saying. So this is Queensborough Community College, of course. You should be able to see a little yellow circle there as I move my cursor around the screen. This is Queensborough Community College, of course, ENGL sections H1A and H24A. I'm doing both sections together. It almost doesn't make a difference that you're in different ones. Your Blackboard courses have the names on them, but it really doesn't make much difference because, as we said, this course is I sent out in the message that this course is asynchronous. Asynchronous means, of course, that there is not a specific time for this course. Instead, I will send out these videos. You're kind of working independently when you're doing this. There are going to be due dates, specific due dates, but there's not a specific time that you have to, come to class and interact. You'll watch the videos, you'll post to discussion boards. I want to try and foster interaction between you and other students through things like the discussion boards. But again, there's no specific class time. So I've got here a picture which is a Sikh Captain America. Sikhism is a religion that comes mainly from India. There are a number of Sikhs in the United States, people who came to the United States from India. And one of the reasons I chose this picture is that this was a kind of a project. If you are interested, you can go online and watch this guy. He walked around as Captain America with his turban on, and he kind of talked about, it kind of got people to think about what it means to be an American, because of course he is in fact an American. Sikhs, of course, can be as American as anybody else, but we have a tendency to think about Americans in a very specific way that's not necessarily always accurate. And so I want us to try and be more accurate and realize, wait, we can, of course, have a Sikh Captain America. Americans can have a variety of religions, can be, of course, a variety of colors, all kinds of things like that, but there sometimes are ways that we think about, sometimes the idea of American will be narrowed down somewhat. And so I want to try to expand that as much as possible. So that's why I have the Sikh Captain America, because that's how I want us to think about literature. We're going to be writing about literature, specifically American literature, and specifically about how American literature can help us think about what it means to be American. How can we kind of come up with broader definitions of what it means to be American. So just kind of keep that picture in mind as we go through. So Professor Manuel Manny Martinez is who I am. The classroom, we don't have a classroom, it's online. The class time is asynchronous. you've got my office phone here. That's a good way to get in touch with me. Um, this number is the number on campus, but it actually rings to my cell phone, so you can get in touch with me that way. You've got my email address, and so you can get in touch with me that way. Um, I've got office hours. They are Monday through Thursday from noon to 1 and by appointment. And so during my scheduled office hours, as I say here, I'll return phone calls and emails immediately. So I'll be sitting here at my desk with my phone. If you call me, I'll pick it up. And if you email me, I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Obviously, if I'm on the phone, it may be hard for me to get right back to an email, but I'll try and do that as quickly as I can. Office hours are important because they are how you're going to try and keep in contact with me. Again, since this is an online class, it's easy for you to feel kind of disconnected from me. And so make sure that you are calling me on the phone or emailing me, and we can talk through things. It's important that we do this anytime, and even in a face-to-face class, I like to meet with students, but it's especially important here. And it's especially important in a writing class, because in a writing class, which is different from a math class, in a math class, if everybody is working on a problem, you are all going to solve the problem in pretty much the same way. But in a writing class, you're all going to be writing very different essays. If you guys are writing the exact same essays, there's a big problem because you're plagiarizing, you're copying each other. But you're going to be writing very different essays, and I'm going to talk in general about how you should be writing your essays, but you might say, well, wait, what does that have to do with the specific issue that I'm having here? And so that's why it's going to be important that you talk to me specifically. And so, again, keeping in contact with me is very important for this course. The course theme for that we're going to have, as I say, I kind of mentioned earlier, it's called Who Are You and What Are You Doing Here? And through most of our readings and writings, we'll be exploring the ways in which American literature shapes evolving ideas of what it means to be American. We will especially be focusing on the ambivalence to assimilation experienced by both recent immigrants and those native-born Americans who are not represented in mainstream American culture. So ambivalence to assimilation. Ambivalence means you kind of are confused, you have two ways of thinking about it, and assimilation means kind of getting drawn into becoming part of the mainstream culture. So if someone becomes assimilated to mainstream culture, they may have mixed feelings about that. Right? On one level, people came, let's say people who are recent immigrants, who have come to the United States. Obviously, if they came here, they wanted to be here on some level. But if they're going to assimilate into mainstream society, it means that mainstream American culture, it means that they give up part of their previous culture. And so you can see how people might have mixed feelings about that. You yourself might be in a particular situation like that, and you might have mixed feelings about that. So I want us to think about what those mixed feelings are, those rather complicated feelings. And it's good that we have complicated feelings about things, because those are the kinds of things that we want to write about. If we look down here into the course description, it says, in this course we will continue to develop the writing skills you began working on in ENGL 101 by having you analyze literary texts. Literature can be complicated and elusive, which is what makes it an ideal subject for developing your writing skills. It's easy to communicate simple ideas, but to communicate the complex ideas we may have about literature, we must carefully organize our thoughts and compose sentences that are particularly clear and precise. So that goes back to that idea of having complicated ideas about something like assimilation. The fact that it's a complicated idea makes it good for us to try to express, because that's what we want to do. Think about how is it that we express rather complicated ideas. Text, there's no textbook for this course. Prerequisite, you must have completed ENGL 101. We've got these course objectives here. These are the objectives that we've set up for all ENGL 102 courses. And I just have those there. I won't go over them, but I want you to recognize that they're there, because if you have any questions about why we're doing certain things, well, it's because these are things that we're supposed to be doing from the objectives, right? So you can see number 4, identify an intellectual question or problem worthy of further study through the process of reading, research, and writing. This whole idea about research explains why we're going to do a research project later on. So this kind of informs why we are doing certain kinds of things. Overview of the class structure. So what's going to happen, as I say here, the assignments for each week will be posted in a folder on Blackboard. And another video I'm going to take you through and show you how that's kind of organized on Blackboard. And each week there will be a video explaining exactly what you need to do. So I'll be coming to you, showing you the assignment that I have written out, being in my little box here, and kind of explaining to you what you're supposed to be doing. Hopefully that'll keep things clear for us, and they'll be organized by week. So as you see for this folder that you were in, it says for the 26th and 27th of August. So you know what you're supposed to be doing for this week, and then you'll have another one for next week. So just be clear about that. If you have any questions about any of the assignments, as I said before, it's really important. Email me or call me, or also, as I say here, you can post to the Ask Me Anything discussion board. So it's a discussion board that I set up. You actually get 1 point for each question that you ask, 1 point of extra credit. So if you have any questions, you can ask me those there. Always, if you have questions, you can go on to the Ask Me Anything discussion board and see if I've already answered it. That's one of the things you can do there. So before you post anything, go back and look and say, hey, wait a minute. Did somebody else ask this question? It might already be answered there. And if it's not there, go ahead and ask me, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. The grading and assignments, as I have here on the right-hand side, you can see there will be 1,000 points for this class, and you can see how many points constitutes an A, A minus, B plus, B, etc. And then over here I have the specific assignments. So we're going to have our first 2 writing projects will be very similar. You'll have outlines for those 2 writing projects, rough drafts for those writing projects, final drafts for them, and then reflections. So what's going to happen is for those writing projects, I'm not just going to throw you in and say, here, write this essay. An essay writing project, I like to call them writing projects rather than essays, but they're kind of basically essays. I'm not going to say, here, just suddenly write an essay. I'm going to take you through and say, look, write an outline for this. Show me what this thing is going to look like, and I'll give you a very specific assignment for what the outline is supposed to look like. And then after you do your outline, you're going to create a rough and then after the rough draft, you'll create a final draft, and then you'll do a reflection, which is where you think about the entire process that you went through from outline to final draft. It's important to recognize that these first 3 categories here, outlines, rough drafts, and final drafts, as long as they are long enough and as long as they come in on time, you will get the full number of points for that. So your outlines are worth 25 points each. If they come in on time and are in the appropriate format, you'll get 25 points. Your rough drafts, 40 points each. As long as your rough drafts are long enough and come in on time, you'll get the full 40 points. Same with your final drafts. As long as they are on time and long enough, you get the full 40 points. So that's easy. All of those points, all you have to do is do the work, and you get all of those points. Now, down here when we get to the reflections, those are a little bit different because those are the places where I want you to think about the process. And I will give you some very specific questions that I want you to answer. Depending on how thoroughly you answer those questions, you can get up to 60 points, but you can lose points on those. So those are the assignments that are going to be more conventionally graded. So just keep that in mind. We've got a third writing project, which is a research project. It's got a number of components to it. That'll be a total of 220 points. You've got 2 short essays. They're 2-hour essays that are going to be 40 points each. You've got quizzes, discussion boards, reading responses, other short assignments. So a number of ways that you're going to interact with me through discussion boards, or short writing assignments that you're going to do. That's 320 points. That is a lot of points. So you got to keep up with these assignments. That's a huge chunk, right? You cannot pass this class without doing well in that category. And then your final exam which is going to be another reflection assignment, will be 50 points. We're going to pause right now, and you'll pick up on the next video, which will take us through the rest of the syllabus.